Sam, good to have you here.
Thanks a lot for the invite.
With pleasure. And I mean, we had another conversation almost 5 years ago. We were just talking about it.
Yeah.
And
it was a long time ago. It's 5 years has gone very fast.
Yeah. And also like, especially because it was during the pandemic, like peak pandemic time in Berlin, a lot of things change in your life, and we're going to go deep into
yes, exactly. Let's see what's happened in the last 5 years.
But maybe warm-up question would be, if you were to describe the music you make and you DJ, how would you describe it?
I think it's always been a reoccurring theme in when I first started to really get into making techno is the lightness and the dark. Because I think I'm not so much of a dark person. I'm very light and bubbly and smiling person, but the music is still quite dark.
Yeah.
So it's like this balance between the light and the dark, this kind of trippy, hypnotic stuff. I think I always treat my music very seriously, and that just stems from me as a listener, because I really like to listen to music which gives me some emotion and some feeling, and not just always this happiness or something like this. So I would say between the light and the dark, something like this. Yeah.
Are there elements that make you feel, I mean, the darkness, very clear, the type of techno you make. Are there elements that you consciously bring into the tracks you produce that are the light?
Yes, absolutely. I think most of my tracks have some sort of sparkle. In that last EP that I did on SK11, there's one track called, I think it's called Late Night Calling. And it has it's very melodic. A lot of my music has always been quite melodic, and this is what I would call the light of the tracks. Of course, I like kick drums, and I like these heavy kick drums, and I like these big dark parts of the track, but I always like to bring it out into some emotion, into the lightness, and it's always something that I'm very conscious about when I'm producing, because for me, I try to sometimes make a really stripped back, monotonous, monotone track just to drive, but it's very difficult for me to finish something like that. I always feel like it needs something to bring you out of this and to really trigger some emotions also.
Yeah. Very interesting. Is the EP the same one with Seeing Clear?
Yeah, this is Seeing Clear. And this track, Seeing Clear, it seemed to do quite well.
Yeah, I love the track. It's super interesting.
I had a friend text me yesterday saying, "Oh, he's still listening to this track, Seeing Clear," and for me, it was this track went through many different forms. At some point, it started off in a completely different context, and then there's this like one main hooky element which goes through the whole track. I recycled this loop and I put it again into like a new project, because a lot of the times when I'm working in Ableton, I work in audio. So it's easy for me to go through other projects and just go on, like in Ableton, you can select like the resampled parts of the audio. So I found that resampled bit and I dropped it into this new track, and it had a completely new life to it. And then I built the whole track around this main kind of hooky element.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Just a quick word before we go back to the interview. Thank you so much for watching or listening to the podcast. I'm Joseph,
and this is the HoS Sound Studio.
If you enjoy this content, please consider liking and commenting on this very episode, and also following us on the platform where you listen to or you watch the podcast, but also follow us on social media. If you have suggestions of guests that you really would like us to interview, see the link in the description. There's a form where you can submit suggestions for guests, and also if you have questions for them. Once again, thanks so much for watching and listening to the podcast. We love what we do. I hope to see you soon on a dance floor.
That particular track, like, how do you keep the hook interesting for 5 minutes? Because that's counterintuitive. It's a very simple hook. I don't know how you made it, or if you remember even how you made it.
I think the point which you said about being a very simple hook, because sometimes this simplicity and this almost minimalism is what keeps your attention. If you listen back to these early DVS1 things on Clockworks, or you listen to some early Marcel Detman, or even you could even say like Ben Clock's Sub-Zero track, it's also very like simple hooky melody or something like this, but it just captures you all the way through. And a lot of careful filtering, a little bits of reverb here and there going into the drops and these sorts of things. It's a lot of small details. Yeah.
So simplicity in the hook. Once you find it that you like it, you can listen to it for a while, and then you process it and you add variations.
And sometimes, when you step away from the computer and you just maybe take a walk around the room or go into the next room, make a coffee, and this loop is still kind of playing in the background, that's when you can listen to it. Because you don't hear any like artifacts in the sound or something like this where you're like, oh no, that needs to be changed or something like that. When you can step away from it and it's still playing and have it in the background, I think it's also like some psychoacoustics in your hearing or something like this, because it just settles into your mind almost.
Very interesting point. You said like taking a break and then to have a bit more objectivity. 2 questions is, currently are you working only in the box, only with the computer, or using outboard as well?
It's funny, I was thinking about that question today on the train here because I was just about to buy a new synth. Moog Muse. If anybody knows anything about the Moog Muse, then they can tell us. So it's a hybrid mixture.
Yeah.
At the moment, I only own the Udo Super 6, really great company from the UK, from Bristol, I think. Of course, they own the Prophet Rev 2, and they own the Korg Monopoly, the original one, not the Behringer, because I don't do any boutique synths. I like to stick with the originals, not any clones or something like this. But how often do I use these? It's not always. I don't always fire up the synth. At the moment, on my studio desk, I have one keyboard tray. And I swap this between the Prophet and I swap this between the Udo. So I put one to the side and I put the other one there. In my future purchases, in my future studio, how it will look, I want more outboard gear. Like, I want more processing. I want more compressors. I want more saturation. I want more coloring boxes, maybe some 500 series in a nice unit. Because I think you can do more with coloring boxes than you can with synthesizers.
Yeah,
you can do anything you want with UHE synthesizers, with the new Serum, with all these things. You can create the same sounds as you can with the hardware.
Yeah,
I did buy a few bits which were not analog, and I sold them because if I buy a synth, then I need it to be analog.
And let's talk also about your inspiration. What inspires you these days?
I think it goes through various different stages through inspiration. I think one thing that really inspires me is I don't know whether you could call it inspiration, but for me, the more amount of time I spend in the studio, the better the results get. And it's quite a simple theory, but I can't say that I really go out into nature or I go into the concrete jungle like New York or somewhere like this and I'm like, wow, I really want to make some music. Maybe when I was a little bit younger. Now I just turned 35 last week, so maybe when I was 20 I was more impressionable to what can inspire me, what can energize me. I think the main point about making music these days and inspiration is I learned over the years that it comes and goes. And sometimes it just cannot be forced. When I was younger, I used to really force it, even if it wasn't working. I would be like, no, I'd get frustrated and I'd get like, no, why is it not sounding right? What can I do? Blah, 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 blah. But now, at some point, I mean, I think last year I didn't write a lot of music. Now I really feel like I'm in the zone again with writing music, and it feels good. And it feels good to release this inside of me, because I do know that when I don't produce music for a while, I feel something inside of me. I feel I can't say I feel anxious, but I feel like I need to get something out of me, and that's what music has always been for me. It's always been like a release of something, and I think as a creative person, you need to release something. It's the same as any sort of art form. If somebody's a painter, this is what they do. They put the paint onto canvas. And it's always the point which I make about music, or if I'm teaching music to some students, which I have, it's like not to think too much about the music, but about the whole of the art form in a way, because you have to step away from the music a little bit to kind of go back to it. It's the same with as I said, like an artist or painter or filmmaker or any other creative industry, you have to maybe look at another alternative to get the results that you want. Not always just like, okay, this is music. I need to do this in this certain way. You have to be also a little bit abstract with the way that you're producing. It's not just a template formula. Again, with an artist painting on a canvas, you don't just paint in a rigid format like this. It has to be very expressive.
Yeah.
And that's also what I like to do with my music, in terms of DJing, in terms of also producing. Because for me, DJing, I also like to be very expressive. Maybe I'll just loop one section here, I'll put on this section. And I always use this Eventide H9 reverb pedal before I was using the Strymon. And I like to use this a lot because it adds this extra layer and it feels like this is my input onto the music.
Yeah. Are there conditions in your life that make you more likely to be inspired and be in that expressive mood where you sit in the studio, you actually feel like, okay, now things flow?
I think everything has to be very peaceful in my life. If I have too much stress or too much going on, I cannot make music. And as much as I feel like, okay, this will be my time and my release to get out of this stressy mood or something like this, it never works out. Everything has to be clean and stable in my life. There needs to be no paperwork or no commitments or something like this. I think also if I socialize too much, I think I have too much influence in my brain. It takes me a few days to settle back into normal life. And now me and my wife, we just moved to Lisbon at the start of this year, and it's been a really good time for producing music because we have the apartment, new furniture arrived for the studio, the space is getting really nicely set up, and I feel very comfortable in that. Every time I step in there, I know that this is my time. Yeah. But there is, of course, moments when things are more difficult. Maybe there's some visas to apply for, some messages from the agency, some long travel or something like this, and then I can't do it. Yeah,
I was going to ask because I know you moved countries a few times.
Yeah, I've hopped around a little bit in the past couple of years.
You were from Berlin to Kiev and Portugal now a few months ago. And it was, last year was probably a big year for you, also moving, getting married, a lot of things happening, preparing for getting married. And then was that stressful for you? And hence you produce less music?
Yes, I think that's also why I did produce less music. So I went from Berlin to Kiev in around November time. I don't know what's the years now, 2023, I guess it would have been.
Yeah.
I've been very attached to that city for a number of years now. And I met my amazing wife. Never been so happy in my life.
Very cool.
Which is the most beautiful part. And it also sometimes helps to make music when you're so happy and you're so, things are good. So yeah, then I went to Kiev, and it was a big shock and big decision for my friends. He's like, what are you doing? Why are you going to go there? But for me, I already knew the city before the invasion. I met when I first went back to play at K41, I met some kind of foreigners, people which were not Ukrainian. They were living there, and I had some really interesting conversations with them. And I was like, I love this city so much. I really would love to be here. And they were saying, well, it's still possible. It's not... Of course, it's a big risk, and a lot of Ukrainians left the country and fled, and then the other person goes there. It's a very strange scenario. But for me, I was very happy with that decision, and I think it also came at a point where I was not fed up with techno or DJing or something like that, but I did need a little bit of a break from everything. Maybe it was
from being in Berlin was too much. Yeah.
Being in Berlin was too much, and just being in this scene, and sometimes it can get a little bit, I don't know. It's sometimes you just need to step away to find the love again. And of course, being closer to my wife was very important for me.
Because she's Ukrainian, but from Kiev?
Yeah,
she was in Kiev.
Yeah, yeah, she's Ukrainian. She's from Kiev. Her family are amazing. We have a really nice time when we go back now, only to visit now. But in the last year, we spent many nice moments. We explored the country a lot. We had our wedding in the Carpathian Mountains. A lot of friends came from Europe. It was maybe their first time in Ukraine. They saw the beautiful nature. My sister came even to Kiev, so it was a big trip for her. But overall, it was quite an exhausting year because I was traveling a lot by train. People still, even on Sunday in Bergheim, a guy came to me and he was asking me how it was to move there because he also really wants to. And I think if it wasn't for this invasion, Kiev would be up there with one of the best cities in Europe. I mean, they have such a great club at K41, such a great community, great organization. Ukrainian people are very warm, they're very welcoming, the food, everything was really, it feel like when I go back there, I really feel like there's a real sense of class to the city. Everyone's very presentable, the food is amazing. Every restaurant where you go to, even if it's a small place, everyone has a lot of care for the detail. I think I also learned a lot from living there, and as I get a little bit older, treating yourself well, in terms of health, in terms of these things. I really noticed that with the people there. But now, I was traveling by train a lot almost every weekend and going back there. I was quite exhausted at some points, but then again, I would have a couple of weeks off and we would go to the nature and I'll be refreshed again. I'll be ready to come back to my gigs. Now we've gone to Lisbon at the start of this year. And it's an interesting transition. I never lived in a hot country before, so
very different place. Here, Lisbon.
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, Lisbon's like it's a hot country. It has this the mentality of the people is a lot slower. It's a lot more chill. Yeah. It's interesting. I'm still getting to grips with it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to your inspiration, do you feel like now things are a bit more settled for you this year? Are you finding a better environment?
Yes, definitely. I think I'm working on a lot of new music. Since the start of this year, I wrote a lot of new stuff. Also having the studio in the house has really helped, because when I was in Berlin, I used to have my studio in Funkhaus. And even though it was not so far from Friedrichshain, it was still a commitment. I would still have to pack my bag. I would have to pack my lunch. I would have to get on the train or take my bike, and I would have to go there. Even though it was 15 minutes, it still feels like I always said in my past that I really like to not be influenced by the outside world when I'm making music. I like to wake up with my coffee. I like to go to the studio and without having to deal with any stresses from even an interaction to buy coffee in the shop, it still feels like something gets into your head. It's nice to be very free in the mind and just roll out of bed almost, to have your breakfast, have your coffee, go to the studio.
First thing you do when you wake up, basically.
Yeah. If there's not some other small jobs to do, but most of the time I will like to go straight into the studio. It's when I find myself most creative, as well as in the morning. I'm not so much of a night owl. I'm not someone that stays up till 3-4 in the morning. I've never been that way. I'm always the polar opposite. I like my early mornings. I like my coffee. Yeah. And it's also the point about DJing, because, you wake up in the middle of the night to go and play. And for me, it's easy to wake up in the middle of the night, but some people are like, oh, you will go to bed. And I'm like, yeah, if I sleep for 1 hour before the gig, then it's good.
Okay, because you kind of resets you.
Yeah. Absolutely. I always have to have half an hour or an hour. Sometimes they say, oh, you have to come to the club directly from the airport. And they say, no, I need to drop my stuff, have half an hour. Even if I'm there just 5 minutes before I start, then I need...
Yeah. Were you always aware of this, or you
Always aware. Always aware. Yeah. I was always aware that I need this time, because I'm not so much... extroverted. I don't feed from this extrovert mentality. When some people, they're around a lot of people, they get a lot of energy. But for me, it's actually the opposite. It's like my social battery goes down, and then I need to. But some people, if they have a meal before the night, then they will stay at the meal. Then they'll go to the club directly after. I'm like, I will eat and I will go back to the hotel for an hour.
Because you need time for you.
I just need time for myself.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting, because I think a lot of DJs and producers are introverted, and maybe a lot of other people would expect them to be these social butterflies that just get a lot of energy from being around, but it's stressful.
It's a really interesting profession to be a DJ, because, as you said, a lot of people are introverted, but then they're put on this big stage, and I can't say that it's the way it's gone since COVID, a lot of people are more dancing, a lot of people are more with their hands in the air, a lot of people are moving behind the decks a lot more. But for me, it's just not in my personality,
Yeah.
People are like, oh, you're always with your head down. Oh, you look so moody. Oh, you like, and I'm like, it's not about me. It's about the music, It's about what's coming out of the speakers. If I was to choose, I think I would be even more hidden, because there's very interesting videos or pictures of Apex Twin back when he first started, and he's like on the floor, with his synths, being hidden behind everything. I don't know whether I'd go that extreme, I'm not so introvert, but it's difficult for me to really be a crowd pleaser or be an entertainer, because the music for me is what's the most important part about this profession.
It's very interesting because it's entertainment, or if you want to call it entertainment or performing music, it's an industry that somehow by default encourages people to be extroverted. So all the introverted people suffer because the promoter wants to push you, wants to push your face as well. Once in this time probably they want you to be dancing and doing crazy stuff, but if it's not you, it's painful.
It's painful, and it's difficult to really... I like to think I'm very true to myself in the music that I play and the way that I present myself. It's always very genuine.
Yeah.
And if I start to throw my hands up in the air when it's going to drop, it's not me, and I feel bad about this point. At some point, if I'm really into it, then I will, But it's not in my character to be this way, to be a performer or to be these things. And definitely over time, touring around the world, I definitely did get more confidence, and I did stand behind the decks, and I'm very proud about the way that I play and about the way that I perform, and I'm very confident in this sense. But I'm confident to the music, and I'm not. I don't want to go past this boundary to be an entertainer.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think you shouldn't, because you should, right? Because it's going back to what you said, you want to be authentic and real. Instead of trying to imitate what is trending right now to please someone else. Yeah,
that's the thing. I think everybody, especially in the social media wave, everybody is almost forced to do this. And if you're not throwing your hands up in the air, you're boring, and you're like a boomer or something like this. Yeah. But, it just... everybody is different. And this is what the outside world needs to realize. And it's... maybe if you throw your hands in the air, you get a few more clicks on your post, but really, you listen to the music through your phone, and if it sounds good, okay, it sounds good. It's not about...
Yeah, especially, and maybe there's people who are really dancers and they do this flamboyant stuff, and it's them. That's amazing. Yeah. It seems like, have you always been able to be true to your art, or were there moments where, for example, you felt, oh shit, I should change something because that would drive more gigs or interest?
I've always been true to myself, and I like to think that I go even more to the opposite side. I try and push the boundaries and how far I can go away from this. I think my album, this Horror Vakoi, in I think it was even 2020 or 2021. This was a very experimental album. It was very just... it was what came out of it. A lot of it is live takes, and it wasn't about pleasing the audience or the listeners. So I like to think that I even push the boundaries away from this, because I've always been into experimental music. But I say this, but I knew in the very beginning of my career, if I want to do my experimental stuff, it's better not to do it from the beginning. And even now, if I have friends who are too into experimental music, I always like to be kind of a mentor to a lot of artists or a lot of friends which ask me some questions, and I'm like, hey, maybe don't start off with this broken track EP. If you really want to cement yourself in the scene, then try and do the 4/4 stuff to begin with, and then afterwards you can start to experiment. Once you've got the listening group, then they will be more attentive to listen to the experimental stuff. Yeah.
That's an interesting point, and I want to talk also about your background, like how you came to techno. It's a very interesting point, because let's say you get more ears if you're doing 4/4 stuff, just by design, and then like the listening group concept is a very interesting concept to me. How long did it take for you to feel you had your listening group?
I think almost from when I first started SK11.
2015?
2015, yeah. This was a point where I really felt confident in the music that I was making, and it really represented me. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I started to put out them first SK records, they got almost like a cult-like following, because it was 4/4 to begin with, but there was this they was also talking about trends. There was this trend to have an ambient track on the A1, and there was this trend to put an electro track on the B2. Not everybody did it, but there was always this B2 broken track. So I was always, because I was into experimental music, I was always putting my experimental stuff on the B2. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people always came to me and said, "Oh, I love the EP, but the B2 is so fucking good," Yeah. And that's also, it gave me, it almost diversified me a little bit from people that were only, now I contradict myself a little bit, but people that were only doing 4/4 EPs, because there was this little sparkle on the edge. There was this little ambient interlude like halfway through the EP or something, and it set it apart. And that's when I really found that people were very interested in this. Luckily enough, when I signed with Len Faki, with Figure, I'm very grateful that he also pushed me a little bit into the experimental stuff. He was very happy for me to do even 3 tracks out of 5 tracks, which were broken experimental stuff. So I'm very grateful that on a big label like Figure, that I was also allowed and given the freedom. It wasn't, we only need 4/4 bangers, we only want this. Almost all of my Figure EPs do have this abstract element to them, so I'm super grateful that this labels
allow you to do that.
Yeah.
And what came before that? Because so your first releases were 2013, or
2013 was my first vinyl. 2014, I think, was the Work Them EP with Spencer Parker, which was very interesting, because even Jeff Mills got his hands on this record and was playing at Deck Mantle, and I was with my friends there. I think it was 2014. I can't remember the exact dates, but when we were there, Jeff Mills just starts playing my track on the main stage of Deck Mantle, and I'd actually. It was in his playlist, this summer festival playlist, because I'd seen some videos of him playing it. I remember Sunil Sharp sent me a video, and he was like, "Oh, Jeff's playing your track." So I was thinking maybe he will play at Deck Mantle, and then he played it, and it was a crazy moment. And it's I don't know if you can say back then, but things were different. They felt so new, whereas techno nowadays it's they play the track, it's cool, blah blah blah. Of course, you always remember the first times that big DJs play your tracks,
for sure,
and
especially if you're there on the dance floor, it's just it's crazy.
Yeah, it really makes everything. It's very when we speak about inspiration, it's very inspiring moments, And often, if I'm DJing now, then I will. If I know somebody is there, I will always take the courtesy to try and play one of their tracks. On Sunday, there's a guy, Bido Ben, who's just been releasing with Clergy, with Cleric. He was coming to Berghain for the first time. We met outside, and he was there, and he's such a nice guy. And I knew that he was on the dance floor, so I played one of his tracks, because it's such a moment for these people, and I like to also be that person to give that. Of course, the music is great to begin with. I don't play anything which is not suitable to play in this moment, but I always like to be okay. It's like a nod to them that they're doing good stuff. And I will always try and play some French tracks in the sets, because they're making good music and good for them to hear on a big sound system. It also makes them think a little bit more, maybe also inspires them. I like to give a lot,
For sure. And I think it's a super important point also for them, because there is this can make or make them continue, make them drop.
Exactly.
Something like that can give you so much inspiration and confidence, or if you want validation that your music is going somewhere.
That's what I really liked about A-Slice, because you could really see,
support.
you could see who was playing your stuff, and I think it was a very, very inspiring time for a lot of producers when you could see Rod was playing your music. You could see that somebody else is playing your music, and you would get that notification like, oh, your track was played by, and if that was a point when, even if you're not on the dance floor, you'd still know that there's one of your favorite DJs is playing your stuff in clubs around the world. It's like, you know, even something you can show to your parents or something like that, just to when they say, what are you doing in your bedroom all night? You know, you can say, well, actually, you know, my track's getting played in Brazil or Colombia or Tokyo or somewhere like this. So
yeah, it's super cool. It was a very good like platform and initiative.
It was, yeah, of course. Yeah. It's a difficult topic. It's still wish it could have continued, but to say? It's like Zach gave his heart to it, and the concept was very, very good. I really liked this concept. Really, I think it was a very genuine concept. I think but it just was not taken on by everybody.
And super hard to make it work financially, because at some point you need to pay the business expenses. People are working on that.
A lot of people behind it. I know I was speaking to Zach a lot, and it was a very intelligent piece of software. A-Slice. It wasn't just upload and do your thing. It was very, very intelligent, and it took a lot of time I don't know if it was working from AI or it was like machine learning. I don't know about all this stuff, but
to recognize the tracks and
and it was very, very intelligent, and he worked a lot on it with his team. So but it is what it is. These things come and go, and
for sure, it's also interesting to see the final report they release, like public report, where they actually shared the learnings about A-Slice, but also like what they saw in the industry and how things shifted. But it was an amazing thing for many producers, as you said, like, because people would get these notifications. I remember like sometimes waking up and saying, oh, this person played this track. I'm like, oh,
it's
amazing.
Perfect. Yeah, super cool.
Super cool. I wish like maybe there would be at some point something similar, or A-Slice 2.0, where this picks up in a sustainable way also for the business, because
it's an interesting one how it could pick up again, because it did take a little bit of work from the DJ to really get home and as much as A-Slice did make it simple, as soon as you would plug in your USB into the computer after the gig, it would take your history, and it would be like, do you want to upload this to A-Slice? It would already do it for you. But still, there is still a few extra clicks on a Monday morning that maybe you don't want to do. So.
And of course, and it's donation based. So in the end, you really need to rely on, first of all, the DJ has to be paid enough that they can give away parts of their fees. And I think a lot of DJs, let's say medium level DJs, are not playing every weekend. They can't, you know.
It can't really afford to throw. It could be their lunch money for the week or something like this. And of course, it's a really nice gesture. But some points, it's like, it's super difficult. I mean, the music industry is difficult enough as it is to sustain for a long period of time. It's you know, with creative industry, you're working freelance, you're solely reliant on music, and I think it really gets to some people sometimes that like, oh, maybe I have to get a job or something like this. So
very tricky, And going back to your releases, is there any of your releases that you feel particularly connected to, and why? Might be the Seeing Clear EP, but
the Seeing Clear one was, I mean, I think all the track titles really say something.
Yeah, exactly. I was wondering.
I think the EP is called Seeing Clear, you know, seeing this horizon, Late Night Calling, obviously with my wife. Like, what the other track titles called? Do you remember?
No, I remember Late Night Call. I wrote down Seeing Clear.
The B3 is called Kahayu, which means like love in Ukrainian. I can't remember the rest of the track titles, but I know it was literally all built around this. Even the Blueprint one was The Eyes Don't Lie. It's all basically about my wife, you know, really? A little romantic. So
how did you meet? Because have you met, how recently did you meet?
With my wife? Almost 2 years now.
Okay, wow, and you're already married, so.
Yeah, I think it came at a point where we're very compatible. We're very like-minded people. We know what we want now, and we know what we want in the future. And for me, it's been, not to touch on too much of a sad topic, but it's been a very tough, like I lost my dad last year, who was my last remaining family member. My mum passed away over 10 years, maybe 12 years ago now.
Sorry,
and
man.
it's only just me and my sister at the moment. So my sister has a little baby. And I think that, Anya, she's very family orientated. And it's the next chapter of Little Mass will come soon,
SK11X plus.
Yeah, exactly.
New project.
There'll be a plus one. There'll be a plus one some point in the very near future. Yeah. So
I remember we spoke about that at Else when you were doing the showcase.
Yeah. So it's still in the planning. We just need to make sure we are as healthy and as stable and everything to bring a child into this world, because it's a big responsibility. And Anya and I, we're both very caring people, and we want to have the best possible scenario to bring a child into this world. Whether it's living, whether it's a lot of factors to think about when you're planning to expand the family. So very super excited for when the day will come. We're just waiting for the right moment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a big step. You already got married.
Yeah.
So and a lot of like your latest releases were influenced by meeting Anya, like in her. And so different question: are there any tracks that you didn't think would resonate with people from your discography, but somehow had an impact?
I think honestly, my biggest track which I ever made, True Lies. Yeah. It took on a really cult-like following. This track really just, and I listened back to it, and the mix down's a little bit shaky, and some of the levels are a little bit off. But I think this one bleepy hook, which just continues to rise throughout the track, it just really stuck with some people. I do remember when I was making it, and I was really into the track, but I didn't imagine that it would be so big. This one for me is, I think it really made my career almost. When True Lies came out, it just really exploded. I don't know what year it was. I can't remember what year True Lies was released, but
SK11 or
SK11, yeah.
And when you reflect on it, I'm sure you gave it some thoughts. Like, what do you think made it so big?
I think because it's very techno, it has all the techno elements. It has claps, it has the bleeps, it has the big strong kick drum, and the way that it's constructed. When I'm producing music, I do think about how people listen to the music. It's not like of course I do it all for myself, and I make the music and build this way, but I like to, the arrangement is very important. And I had this, and I remember the track so clearly, I have this very low bleep at the start, then it goes to like this middle octave bleep, then it goes to this really higher one. But I know that people, when they hear this next one come in, they will be, wow, what the fuck? So it's always constantly rising like this. And when I was making it, I did think, this will be, it will be a good one. So it was a little bit surprised that it went so far, like, but in Also, I think the Seeing Clear track, this title track from the last one, it really did very good, and it's also very minimal production. It's very simple, but somehow it just works, and this minimalism,
it works.
It works. It's very difficult to do, but when it's done right, it really works.
Yeah, I think most producers would have tendency to add things.
Yeah,
I think it's you need to work, for most people, you need to work against your instinct, like not instinct, but like you think it's not working, you want to add another layer, another clap, another hat.
That's the thing. You should once you've built the track, you should really see what you can take away, because at some point you turn off a few bits and you're like, wow, it sounds more open, it sounds more free, and it sounds more things. But maybe you put a hard atmosphere all the way through it. Maybe you did something else. Maybe you added in an extra thing here. And again, when I spoke about the teaching, which I do sometimes, when I'm talking to these people and they say, well, it doesn't need to have anything more. It has everything that you need. The key part then is how it's arranged and about how the different things fall into place, before the listener gets bored, before you don't need to always be adding new stuff, because at the end of the day, you just overload it. It's like, again, when you speak about these analogies, like when you're building a house, you don't just add all these extras. Once you've got everything there, you just need to decorate it a little bit. And the decoration comes from processing, it comes from little bits of reverb, it comes from some delays, but everything for ear candy.
Yeah. So interesting. And when you think about arrangement, do you have some kind of template structure that you normally use for arrangement? Or, for example, do you think there has to be certain components into your arrangement?
I never work from a template. Never. Every track looks and sounds different. It's just the way that I think if it's too structured, again, there's no sense of freedom. There's no sense of expression or something like this. So I never have like a. Sometimes it does fall into place by habit. Something like the hi-hat will come in after 8 bars or something like this every time. I'm like, fuck, I need to change it a little bit. And I can't say that I really record the arrangements live, but sometimes if I'm feeling it, then I would just, hit play on everything and I'll just switch things on and off, or in the clip view, kind of make it like a kind of live setty kind of thing, so you can just play the clips going down when things come in and out, and then just chop in things to make sure everything's in the right sort of phrases and stuff like this. But for me, templates never really worked. I never put anything in there, because sometimes if I'm DJing and I'm looking in Record Box and I see the 3 tracks by the same producer and they all have the same parts where they drop in, I'm like, what is it then? It's not music. It's like, it's just
product.
Yeah, product, yeah.
And when you think about an arrangement, so, okay, not on a template, but are there specific parts, for example, you want a break, you want a drop after the break, you want a part without the main melody, or it really depends on the track?
It always depends on the track, but I think there's also some kind of, it all depends on the track, to be honest. It's never really, no track is always the same. And sometimes you want to bring in that ride directly after the drop, or bring in this clap. So sometimes you want it to drop down into more of a subtle thing. And it just depends on the mood of the track as well. Or because, if you have a big drop and then you bring in the hi-hat directly afterwards, then it really adds this sense of energy. And it's like almost big room style or something this. And sometimes you want it just to be a bit more subdued and then build up again. But arrangement is very interesting thing, and it's always changing. I listen to a lot of producers or listen to a lot of music, and sometimes producers start off with the bare minimum, then build up everything to 4 minutes and then drop back down again to nothing. But some people, goes up and down. Rides will come in after the first minute, rides will go out, rides will come in again after 2 minutes. But some people build up to this rides or the hi-hats, and everything goes into this one kind of vortex and then drops down to nothing. Or people can start the track with every element in the track and kind of go backwards. So everything will be in, and then after 2 minutes it goes down to a more minimalistic kind of phrase and then comes back up again. So
it depends.
It depends, yeah.
And if we think about, like, look, for example, you mentioned light and darkness darkness usually is associated with the low end. Like, I mean, for the clubs you play into and the music you play, you want a low end that is quite clear and punchy.
Yeah.
If you were to think about 1 or 2 principles for someone who wants to make this kind of music, something that sounds good in Bergen, for example, like punchy kick, like a bass that feels good and warm, what do you think they should focus on?
Layering.
Kicks layering, or?
For me, kicks layering, yeah, because I think that a lot of this sample libraries, a lot of these things, they're not for me, they don't sound like the right kicks. And if I hear this, kick in productions, then I don't play the track, no matter how good the track is. For me, if the kicks and the low end is the most important thing, unless the track is tailored to be this organic style kick, like some phase stuff or something like this. It's like more this organic style kick. It's not so boomy and punchy, but a lot of these sample libraries, they need the layering. Maybe some people can get away with it. I don't like 909 kicks. It's
which immediately cuts out 70%.
And ever since I started to produce techno, I always wanted to not use the 909 because I just felt it was too easy. It was too easy. I always like to challenge myself. And of course, you can load up a 909 and you can start a techno track. Just boom, it's done. 909 is a techno. Techno is a 909 kick. This is what it is. But it's almost too easy. So that's why I talk about personal experience. I was always very obsessed with layering. Multiple kicks, little clicks here, little things here, moving the track delays, moving things in audio to snap everything into position, because I really want to build that kick drum from scratch. But now, after all these years of producing, I have all the kicks made. Yeah, it's like I did the hard work 5 years ago. Nowadays, when I'm making techno or making kick drums, sometimes I'll add in a little bit at a little transient at the start, or I'll shave off the transient from the old kick and I'll put in a new style thing there. But most of it is already constructed. But for me, layering is the most important thing. I know a lot of producers get away, like Alton Bass, for instance, does an amazing job with a 909.
Yeah. Alton Bass, I think also there's a few others that Yuval, I think, uses only 2 layers, one for the transient and the other one, but from the same kick. Yeah. That's also interesting.
Also, approach. Like Rene Wise, he always says that he layers 909, 828 together and makes his kick. But, it's not only that. It's not only these two. You can't just go, okay, well, I'll get 828 and I'll get 909 and I'll put them together. And okay, now I made a Rene Wise kick. Yeah. It's not like that, because there's a lot of processing. There's a lot of EQ, which still goes on to this. It's as simple as it sounds. There's a whole chain, I guess, of
processing.
Yeah,
very interesting. So for you, the layering and kicks is super important.
Yeah, layering, and as we just said, processing is super important. That's what I spoke about, buying new pieces of outboard gear. It's to get this character to the sound.
And in terms of like bassline, what is the go-to, or if you want to describe it as a principle for others, what is important for a bassline that sounds good in a club?
I think the bassline needs to have, it needs to be able to breathe a little bit. I think when it's too synthesized, it's too harsh almost. And I was always and still am a fan of a lot of reverb in the bass. Put the reverb bass into a mono. I've never been into this synthesized bassline. I'm getting more and more into it now, some kind of sequencer on the bass with a lot of low pass on there, just so it's like ticking over. But I think it needs reverb. Even if there's a tom sequence, it needs some sort of air to it. And often what I say to people is, when we sat in a room or when we're out on the street, we have this noise around us. So when we're in the computer and things start to feel too dry, we add reverb to hi-hats, so why not add reverb to the toms or to the bass line? Just a little touch. So and when you switch it on and off, you really notice this difference, because most of the other elements in the track have a touch of reverb on there. So why not also add a touch to the kick, add a touch to the bass, just to make it come out a little bit.
Yeah. So to kind of like giving something similar to ambience noise, exactly. To give it like a bit of life in that sense.
To give it a little bit of room.
Do you use sidechain compressor a lot?
Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously triggered by a kick to lower the bass.
Yeah. Most of the time nowadays I use LFO Tool by Exfer, because this one you can really design very well.
Yeah, like the Shaper Box. I don't know if you ever use it.
Box, Cable Guy Shaper Box and Exfer LFO Tool. Yeah. You can just shape them exactly how you want to do it. You don't have to dive into any envelopes or or do all this like drawing stuff. Of course, I also like to mouse click a lot and to do these things, but sidechain compressor, it's good just to quickly do it, to get things out of the way. But it sometimes leaves a bit at the very end when you want the bass to duck before the kick comes in, because if this bass starts to eat into the kick on this side, then it starts to cause a lot of phase issues, and it starts to
you lose probably punchiness, the transient.
Exactly.
Yeah, and now thinking about something else, which is how do you promote your music? Like, obviously you have the experience from your personal releases, but also like a lot of SK11 for your music, SK11X for other people's music. What have been like one or two things that for you really helped you get the music out there in front of people?
Social media.
Like in what way? For example, I mean, doing a post, obviously, right? Post with yourself. Like, is there something that for you feels authentic?
Yeah, I think it does feel authentic, because Instagram or these social medias, I guess Instagram is the only really relevant one these days for posting about music. But it's really, people are on there, It's like, where do your audience, what do they do, how to get this into their vision, how to get them to listen to this thing. And so many people using Instagram, a lot more people using Instagram than SoundCloud, for instance. Even though most of the time I still put up the clips on SoundCloud, sometimes I think to myself, why am I doing this to go onto SoundCloud? When Instagram is just where everybody is. But I think SoundCloud has a better kind of database in there. You can just only go to the label page and you can go through the releases like that. Whereas if it's on Instagram, then maybe it gets lost between some other gig posts or some other selfies or whatever people are posting. Then it can get lost between this. And of course, like editorial is a great option to try and get it out into more mainstream media. Resident Advisor, Mix Mag, DJ Mag. It just depends if they're really writing about techno these days, because I find that they're not writing so much about the techno which the label SK11 releases. Sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes they'll do a post about it, but it's not so common. And when they do, I'm very grateful, and it's very, very nice. But it's not always. I try and have some like kind of editorial promo thing which I send out just by myself, and I will. In the past, I worked with PR agencies, and it was a nice experience. But in the very beginning of my career, I worked a lot with PR agencies. I had very close
for SK11 or also
for SK11 and also for myself. But the scene, again, I don't want to say that the scene it's different now. Back then, when I was starting the label, the scene was small. It wasn't so big as what it is now. Now it's huge. Techno scene is huge. Even hypnotic techno, even these things, it's huge. And it's back then it was not so big. And like Resident Advisor, somebody like that would write a review, and when I was working with the PR agencies, they would, there would be some nice features on different places. But now there's so many people that want to work with PR, people that want to get featured on XYZ website, that it's just so difficult nowadays. And with the label, I don't work with any PR anymore. I try and do it myself, and if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm just very grateful that the records which I'm releasing with the label, they sell very well, and mainly I try and let the music do the talking.
Which is, I mean, in the end, it's like the substance matters more than the shiny form. But I think it's important to promote it and get it out. I want to talk about the label in a second, but last question about this concept. In our last conversation, recorded conversation in 2020, we talked about luck versus strategy. And you made an interesting point, which is it's important to have a long-term direction, but in the end, it's always about luck as well. Does this still ring true to you, or has that changed?
Oh, absolutely.
5 years later.
No, it still rings true. I think you have to know where you want to go in music, where you want to end up, where you want to be, what's your reference point, kind of thing. I remember when I first started to really get into making music and thinking about how I wanted to release my music. It's not that I can say that I wanted to be a big famous DJ or something like this. It all kind of fell into place like one after the other. But I always knew that I wanted my music to be in the right places, on the right labels. And during my early days, I remember browsing around Discogs, and I had some reference points with some artists, and I was like, okay, well, they an artist which I like. How did they get to this position? Yeah. What did they do to release them records? And Marcus Sucker, he was one of my reference points, and he was at this time he was releasing with Stroboscopic Artifacts, and he was releasing with Figure. And before this, he wasn't releasing any records. And I thought to myself, okay, so he didn't release 20 records on digital labels and get to that point. He waited. He waited until he'd really honed his craft, until he got very good at producing, and he got to the best of his abilities to get signed to these amazing labels. But then this is when the luck comes in, because you can be the best bedroom producer, you can be the best sound designer, you can make amazing music. But if this label's not listening to your demos because it's the wrong time of day, it doesn't reach them properly, then what to do? So then that's when the luck comes into it. Because, maybe that one label that you really want to get signed to opens that email, clicks on it. Wow, this is really good stuff. Same with Holden Federico when he signed to SK. It was only by chance that he came on a Zoom call with me during the pandemic when I was doing some classes. And I said to him, man, this music is so fucking good. Like, let's do something with it. But if I had like 50 requests for these classes when I advertised on my Instagram stories, and I chose maybe 15 people. I didn't listen to the music before, just from their emails. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just put this person in, this person in, this person, gave them a time slot. And he came on, and I said, oh, I didn't listen to the music, but let's listen to it now. Just quite blasé.
Okay, you were like, oh shit.
And then I was like, wow. And it was the first SK, the track that I listened to in that class was one of the tracks. And I told him, like, go away from this class, go and make me another 3, 4, 5 tracks, and we will do an EP, because I really want this one track at least. And if the rest of them is a shit, then we will still do it, because I want this one track on the label. It's really. So then that's when luck comes into it.
Yeah.
About being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And again, it's still like there's so many producers nowadays that you really have to be lucky.
Yeah, for sure.
To start to tour, to start to live your life only from music. And I think people should understand that it's okay to have a part-time job. It's okay to work full-time and make your music on the side. It's not all about having this status that you're full-time music or you're only DJ, It's more mature to think that, okay, I do need to have a job and I do need to pay the bills in a certain way, and I'll do my music. And that's maybe when the music starts to become more free and starts to become maybe even better, or things start to happen when you stop to put pressure on yourself.
Like you need to rely on that to support your financial needs. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And especially in this day, there's so many DJs. But of course, there's more clubs, there's more festivals, there's more opportunities, but there's also more people.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very interesting point. And I think if you, whatever decision you have in your life, if you're putting pressure on yourself, like in the end, you're going to have a shit experience whether it goes well or wrong. So in the end, you're kind of shooting yourself in
exactly.
the feet. Yeah. Like it's much better, as you said, like, okay, you have a full-time job. You probably have less time than someone who doesn't have a full-time job outside of music. But in the end, if that's what keeps you going and allows you to have a studio or a flat or a peace of mind, those 3 hours a week that you make music, that's actually very good.
And if it's fun.
If it's fun, exactly. Yeah. I think maybe also because social media, DJ has become, in the last 10 years, such a glorified profession that like it gives you money, but also status. And then
you get like a little bit of FOMO or something like, I'm doing such good music. Why am I not there? Why am I?
Yes,
why is everything bad for my career? Why do they get it? Why do they do this? But really just focus on yourself. And at some point, if you really put the energy into yourself, good things will come your way. You have to really believe in what you do. If you start to become pessimistic about what's happening around you, you will only see the negatives. if you start to look more inwards to yourself and the music that you're creating, then things will start to happen.
Do you ever feel yourself, you compare yourself to others?
I used to do a lot in the past.
What changed?
Maturity, realizing that looking at somebody else doesn't result in good things for you, you know? If you're looking at what somebody else is doing, or you're looking at someone's gig schedule, or your whatever, you should look at yourself and think, what am I doing? It's your life. It's not that. It's their life. It's your life. You know, you should really think about yourself. And not compare without. It just becomes a bit. You just start to mature over some years. Yeah. But definitely, I fell victim for this for a long time. Honestly, I'm not afraid to say it. That I was always like, oh, why is it not happening for me? Like, why is it for them? Blah blah blah. And yeah, when you focus on yourself, then you start to become more confident in yourself, and then things start to happen. Good things come your way.
Yeah,
good things coming soon.
For sure. And remind me, when did you start producing? So first release was 2013, then SK11 2015.
Yeah.
How long before were you producing?
I would have been around 17 or 18, but I can't say that it was good, you know. I can't say that I was like, when I started producing, I never wanted to do a course. I never wanted to start. At some point, I did want to study music because I was fed up with my architecture degree, and I told my parents, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do music. But they said, no, do your architecture stuff, and then you can do what you want. But the first tracks I made were a shit. I didn't know how to use Ableton. I didn't know how to use Cubase or one of these other softwares. I just put a kick drum and an arpeggiator on this thing, and I thought, okay, cool. But you know, the more I listened, the more I listened to other music, and then I started to, okay, things started to, and then it's just started to get more serious about it. And like every day I was making music every day, but it was stepping stones.
Yeah.
It was small stepping stones. And I think I moved to Berlin for just a small period of time. Over one summer, I left Manchester and I came just for one summer. It was like maybe 3 or 4 months. I rented like Airbnb style thing back then, and just had my space, and I was just making music without any interaction, without anything. I think I didn't speak to anybody for like 3 months. I was just going to the record shop. I'd buy some records. I didn't know anybody in the city. I think this was around 2012 even. And then 2013 was when things started to happen. I think that's also when I moved to Berlin around that year. But it's only because I locked myself away, and I knew that I was so obsessed with making music that I started to improve slowly. But there was no YouTube tutorials. There was like one reverb techno kick tutorial on YouTube. It was a lot of experimentation. It was a lot of listening. I used a lot of reference tracks. I would drop that track into Ableton. I'd try and make this kick drum which sounded the same, A-B all the time. And I was just experimenting a lot with music and with ideas, and then things start to snap into place. And I can't say that I'm like I'm a musician from childhood or something like this, but I know what I want. I knew the sound that I wanted to make, but it just took me a lot longer to get there. But you know, we don't have the technology that we have today, or the master classes, or this online Zoom classes where you can literally see into the sides of your favorite producer if they're offering classes or something like this. It's
like we did with you in the pandemic.
You couldn't see this. Everything was a mystery. Everything was a mystery, and it was a good time. You know, it was like you had to experiment.
So you were producing basically for 7-8 years before 2013.
I guess it would have been 5 years, something around this. From when I was 17 till like 22, and then 23, I would have started to release the first records, and then 24, getting more serious. 2015 was the start of SK, and also I think I was also signing to Figure around that point, and then things progressed quite fast after that.
And I mean, obviously, starting SK11 has been a great gamble that paid off really well. When you started it, do you remember the thinking process? Like, what were you thinking? What were you worried about before starting?
My thought process was, I'm annoyed. honestly.
Of sending demos and not.
Yeah, I was sending demos. I was having a lot of false promises. There was a few really nice labels which just kept me on a hook for many months. They would be into 1 track, 2 tracks. They would wait another 3 months and send me a little reply. And I'd again get my hopes up and I was like, oh, new music here. I would wait again another 2 months. Then they said, we'll do it. Then on the last minute, they wouldn't do it. I thought, you know what, fuck this, I'm going to do it myself. And it was the best decision that I ever made, was to believe in my music, believe in the music which I was making and not have anybody else judge it. I didn't need this. If I like it, for me, if I like something, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks.
Yeah.
So I think that's just the confidence. And I was very fortunate that I had the opportunity to work with my distribution, Triple Vision in Holland. I was very fortunate that I could start the label. You know, mastering costs, it's high. Label costs, it's high. It's very difficult to start a record label and not knowing if things are going to sell. You put all this money up front and you press these records and how will it be received? But I was very fortunate that everything fell into place, and that's again why I say that the scene was not so saturated then. It was quite easy to put out a techno record and people would listen to it. Nowadays there's so much music coming out every day, every week, every month, that the good stuff gets lost. But back then, 10 years ago, I could put out the record and people would listen to it. I remember DVS1 was playing it, Len Faki was putting it in some DJ Mag charts, and it was a very nice time, you know, because the scene was just a little bit smaller. Yeah.
And you kind of broke through at the right time.
Yeah.
So running a label 2015, you also started SK11X, releasing new artists in 2019, if I remember.
Late 2019,
Yeah, beginning 2020, Jant was the first, right? Then we spoke about it last time. And now you were telling me you have new plans to support other artists who are not yet known.
Yeah.
What's going on with the label? Do you want to tell us more?
I think it's always been the theory to give people an opportunity. Because like I said just before, when I was starting out, there was labels which gave me that opportunity, and I was not well known. Again, Len Faki with Figure, he gave me the opportunity to release my records when I was not well known. Spencer Parker with Work Them, I was not well known. All these people which released me in the past run a risk. They all have this risk level. So I'm very grateful to them. And I feel like it's my duty now to do the same for other producers, to give them an opportunity, to give them to a lot of the people which signed to SK, they didn't release a vinyl record before. So I feel like it's my gift to them to release their music. And, you know, I think a lot of the people which released to it with SK, they're very grateful. And I like to give them this platform. I think it's good for the scene to give birth to new talents, to give them this opportunity. So, I mean, the latest one, Confusion and eBass, I mean, they've both been doing a few digital releases here and there. They have a nice catalogue with these things. But I think to myself, like, if I was not to release their music, like who would in the scene? Maybe they would get to somewhere, maybe they would get to sign in with other labels or something at some point in the near future. But I like to think that it's SK is really about giving a platform to younger artists, at the same time established artists. Yeah, because we have people like Chris, we have people like Altin, Bass and Circle, which are already pretty established names. Then we have more of the fresher, like E-Man was releasing recently. That's his first record. Arkan in the very beginning. Arkan will do another record very soon. So it's become a little bit of a mixture of artists. And when I look to the future, there'll be the celebration of the 10 years. So there'll be 2 different vinyls. One of them will be like the artists which have already released on the label. the typical names like Rene, Blanca, Quads, a lot more. There'll be 12 artists on that vinyl, and then there'll be a second vinyl in 2 different parts. The second vinyl will be from artists which I really admire, which I really like, but they've never had the chance to release a full EP on SK, because normally I just do full EPs from the artists, not various artists. So this will be people like Dower, Banales, Jolene Schaefer, Jasper, 35, JSP 35, Cloto. So these sorts of names, which I would love to do a full EP with them, but there's just not enough space. You know? It's just like running a label. I already probably released too many records, but there is a lot of good music around at the moment.
I think so. Like, I think it's a very good moment for the type of music that we enjoy. It's expanding, and I think there's a lot of new artists. It's true that there's music being released every day, and it's too much even to listen to. But there's a lot of cool music.
Yeah, it really is, and I don't know. There's just not enough ears or hours or something to really to have it all.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a journey also for you. If you were to start over in 2025, 1 or 2 things that you would do immediately for the label?
Oh, it's very difficult. I would hate to start now.
Too much competition.
Too much competition. Too much music. It's like how to be heard in this scene right now. Even if the music is very good, it's very difficult to start in 2025. So I really respect people just as are building labels now and doing these things and believing in themselves, because the scene also needs to keep on changing. We can't just always be set in the past. So if I was to start now, just make good music. It's always my ethos. It really is. It's not about, and at some point good music will find its way, and it always does. It will find its way to the right people, even if it's a smaller audience, even if it's to just a few people. It will always find its way.
Yeah. And I think also another thing is what you were saying before, that of the luck versus strategy. I think it's always luck, but you want to still try.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Put it out.
If you never try, you never know.
Yeah.
It's my saying. If you never try, you never know. And life is about experimentation. At some point, like, you don't want to live on regrets or something like this. Oh, why did I not try this? Or why did I not at least give it a go or something like this? Don't be afraid of rejection or something like this. As I mentioned before, like, when I was sending out demos to labels, it was not rejection, but it was like this false hope. And, you can give up after this, but you have to not give up and always try, no matter how many people, and just believe in yourself. Really.
Yeah, for sure. And keep going.
A little bit philosophical now.
To encouraging people, but it's true. I think it's a very important thing. Hard in the moment when you're getting rejected, then you feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. But I think you need to have this kind of almost faith that, like, if you like your music, keep going, have fun. At some point it will happen.
Yeah, you have to believe in yourself. Yeah, really. Yeah. And that's when things will start to happen.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. One more question about the label. 2015 seems to be a vintage year.
So it really does. Yeah.
Clergy, 47, Hypnotic,
Fides,
SK11. What happened in 2015?
Yeah, really unique time. I was having dinner with Zippo last night, and it's really crazy how everything happened around this year. It's like, it's really a golden era of labels, and good labels, still relevant labels, still labels which are around to this day. It's really cool, honestly. Really cool that things lasted this long for all these labels. They're all still running. They're all still putting out records. Everybody's still working in music, and it's just, I don't know what happened in this 2015 year. It's really, really good. It's a good feeling, that this all started to happen around this time. So, and it also shows you these like timelines of techno. Trezors becomes like, I don't know how old now, 30 years, and then other labels become 20, and now these labels become 10 years old. So it's like really nice to see that. Labels are being born and labels are surviving and running, and it's a lot of thanks to also the the customer and the audience that are buying the records, which are supporting. It's not only about label owners or things like this, but if them records sold 5 copies in the very first release, they wouldn't be surviving. It's too much investment to keep on pressing records. So it's only thankful to the wider audience, which supports the vinyl industry or supports even digitally, supports the label, that everybody can survive and keep on releasing.
Yeah.
So it's really...
it's been also a great time for independent label, Bandcamp, and many other tools who also...
Bandcamp really elevated things, I think, when it came around.
Yeah, especially also because I think he came around in 2013 or 12, also quite recently.
Yeah.
And I think he helped also build this connection of what you were saying of, your audience, your first group of listeners that really believe in you. You have direct connections with them whenever you release stuff. You don't need to wait on distributor and shops to send payouts or promote it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thinking back at your music career as a DJ and producer, what has been one of the hardest moments and how you overcame the challenges?
Hardest moments... Many ups and downs in my career, many changes. There's been many changes at some point. I think, why did I make these changes? A lot to do with agencies and a lot to do with these sorts of things. It's like, at some point, you have to settle. You have to be at peace with everything. But, I always like to, what's over there? What's over there? What's this here? And what's going on there? So there's definitely been a lot of hurdles, a lot of challenges in the last 10 years, but a lot of really good moments as well.
Yeah.
I can't pinpoint an exact, very difficult moment because it's always going, up until this day, it's always going up and down. And that's life, Life as a DJ, life with anything. It goes through ups and downs, and it's just how low the lows go and how high the highs go. Because if you stay in these periods of down, it's very difficult to go back up. So now I learned it's very nice to keep a very tight balance between the highs and the lows. Never going too and then never going too low. Everything should be on a nice level.
Yeah, and then keep pushing through despite the lows, right? Because they will happen inevitably.
Yeah, you really, again, you have to just believe in yourself again and know that there's always going to be moments which can go down, and there's moments which you can become up brighter.
Yeah. And when we talked in the recorded conversation 5 years ago, you said that one of your biggest values is kindness. How do you keep practice kindness every day?
It's a very philosophical question because it's... I like to treat people how I want to be treated. Like I was saying about the label, people gave me that opportunity 10 years ago or 9 or 8 years ago. And still to this day, people give me opportunities. So I like to do that now. It's one it's one gesture that I give to new generation, if you could call it, or something like this. Like I give them this piece of the puzzle in this music world, releasing their records. Day to day, just being good.
Yeah. Spend time with your loved ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a very simple life these days. Nothing is too... I think I really like this easy lifestyle nowadays. Studio, wife, dog, these sorts of things.
Yeah, nature.
Long walks in the park.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I think it's... And, when you're traveling most weekends, it's nice just to have this stability.
Yeah. It gives also it keeps you healthy and more sustainable. And last set of questions, rapid ones. In what way is your personality a curse, and in what way is a blessing?
I'm too kind sometimes. And also a blessing is that I'm also a nice person. Yeah. So,
So sometimes it's too kind because...
in English we say give them an inch and they take a mile.
Yeah,
give them a little bit and they take
too much.
Yeah, and at some points it's really like that. You give too much, and at some point you're like, oh fuck, I really just should have set my boundaries or something like this.
Yeah. Very important. What is one of the funniest guest list requests you ever got?
Oh, it's a difficult one.
I saw, coincidentally, after I sent you the questions, I saw you screenshot 2 requests from that guy. And one was directed to...
Nowadays, they're all AI generated, especially when I played Berghain just now. Everything's AI generated, but of course they now confuse the names.
UVB.
Yeah, UVB and Setaoc Mass. It was like one message after the other. It's like the copy and paste went a little bit wrong, you know.
Yeah.
So it's very funny, but I think there's many times, and I mean, I love Georgian people, but they're very into asking for the guest list request for Bassiani, and every time there's a lot of requests, and they always have a different story for why they deserve the list. And sometimes I choose some ones to, you know, give some guest lists to.
Yeah.
So it's
based on the story, or people you know normally?
No, just based on the story. Just depends if it's their birthday or if it's their friend's birthday. Sometimes they get messages like, "Oh, it's my birthday in like 6 months. Will you put me on the guest list for this party here?" And I'm like, yeah, it's interesting. I like the hustle.
Do you ever get bothered? Like at some point, did any request piss you off? Or you're like, "Fuck, come on, let's write my name correct."
Yeah, a lot to do with this club next door because there's just too many. There's too many people, and it's number one, it's a stressful gig to play at Berghain, but number two, there's a lot of people which really want that guest list, and they want to get in the club, and it's difficult to always get in the club every weekend, no matter if you live here or not. But you know, it's at some point, like last week, the week before, I was like, fuck, it's just too many people asking me, and even friends which are on the guest list, they asking me, is it sorted, you know?
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, yes. And then there's another friend which comes up, which is a very good friend. I'm like, fuck, I'm really sorry, but they promised these lists. And then they try and calculate, like, hey, man, maybe I have to take you off the list, put you there, but maybe you can go in with them. And it's like a puzzle. And up until the day, and you know, when I have to prepare my music, I have to be in the mood, and I have to come from a sleepless flight the night before in Amsterdam directly into Berghain. And I have to, and even now on Sunday, I walked in five friends without guest list, and I said to the bouncers, like, please, just don't make it a stress, you know. I didn't say this, but I was like, please, and he was like, yeah, how many? And it was 5, you know. I was like, thank God for that, because, you know, if one person out of this group gets turned away, it's very sad.
It sucks
if
for them,
two people get turned away, and then it's like, oh shit, what do we do? And you know, even when I'm starting my set, I'm probably thinking, oh fuck, really
your mind is thinking, oh fuck, you wish them to be there. And
it's one of the most stressful times. I'm glad I just play once a year now, not all the time.
Very cool. If you were to choose one closing track for the rest of your life, what would that be?
I like my closing tracks. Recently, I just started to play IF Space Invaders of Smoking Grass, this classic one. I really like this one, but I think who was it? Who made the remix? I really like this Kenny Larkin I Don't Need a Cure Radio Slave remix, or Radio Slave original Kenny Larkin remix. I don't know which way it goes, but I really like to play this one. I also have a famous Mono Junk one. There's many closing tracks which I always like to play, and I always like to make it special, dependent on how the gig is. Like at Berghain at the weekend, it was a very simple track. I don't want to do anything too crazy. But if I'm in Colombia or somewhere like this, and it's the morning, 8 a.m., I would always play like a big hitter, like from The Hacker or somebody, or Mono Junk, or this Format Solid Sessions, I think it's called. And
a few closing tracks.
I got many. It's always a point which I think about, because it's I listen to a lot of techno. I'm always digging. I'm always looking for new music. And so that's when I collect a lot of music, from electro to more 90s stuff or something. So I have a wide variety of possible closing tracks, and some very obscure ones from some US labels, from this Mathematics. I like to dig a lot of music, some very obscure names.
It's nice to surprise people and to leave them with something, because it's probably one of the parts that they will remember the most. Right?
Exactly, you leave them with something to remember. And I love when I finished and people are like, oh, what was that closing track? I love this sense of feeling when I give them something new, and it's just not just like a big hit, which everybody knows. I like to dig something which people don't know and they have to think about. And And I'm always very open to share which track it was, but I'm also like, people didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And it's
surprising.
Yeah, surprising.
Yeah, very cool. Would you rather play in front of 10,000 people, strangers, like massive but really proper stage, or 20 friends in a house party, like
10,000 people?
Yeah?
Yeah, because I think the bigger the place is, the more... When it's 20 people, it's a house party, I feel very like...
self-conscious?
Yeah, self-conscious
Yeah.
and very like every track and all these things. But 10,000 people, it's like you're just there. You just play the music. Nobody can judge you when it's 20 people. I recently played in Miami, and there was like 50 people there, or 60 people, but they were really enjoying it. And I walked in there and I was a little bit like, I thought it could have been, I knew it would be small. It was Sunday afternoon, but the people that were there, they really enjoyed it, and it really pushed my boundaries to also play some more obscure of my more collector's style techno. And they ate everything. They really loved it. But when it's friends, then I feel more conscious. But when it's even 50 strangers, then I still feel like confident and good. But just when it comes to this small house party, I'm like, they're like, will you play at your wedding? No.
Too much.
We play at my house party. No, it's not my thing.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
Who is one artist, can be musician or other kind of artist, you will get stuck on a deserted island with for a week?
Tom York, Ludovico Einaudi, Ben Clark could be interesting. Ben's a hero of mine, for sure. That's it.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
And any reasons why? I mean, Ben for the music, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And Tom York for personality as well, or?
For the music,
Yeah.
Ludovico Einaudi. I don't know if he speaks English, but his music really touches me. Same with Tom York. I think it would be
Amazing.
Yeah.
What is a project or something in your life that you are really excited about for the near future?
Everything. Honestly, everything. I'm really looking forward to the future, whatever it brings. SK11 10 years is, of course, really important with music. The future with my wife is also looking super beautiful for the future. Everything, honestly.
Very cool.
Yeah, all my gigs in the future I'm looking forward to. I feel very inspired musically at the moment with DJing as well. So, yeah.
Very happy for you. Yeah, it's a great moment to be in. Yeah. And last question, closing tradition. What is a question we should ask the next guest?
Why did you start and where do you want to go?
Okay, there's a question for you, which is, if you only had 6 months to live ahead of you, how would you change your time allocation? What do you do?
Travel the world.
Yeah. Would you still play gigs?
No.
You would just like travel and explore places you haven't been?
I think I would try and do as much as possible in such a short space of time. Do whatever you want to do, wherever you want to see in the world. I would love to go to so many places like Patagonia, or I'd love to see some crazy places in Japan or somewhere like this. And sometimes this job takes you to many, many places, but it's also such a fast life that people go, oh, amazing, you were in this XYZ country, oh, it must be so cool, you were in Australia. But really, you have a lot of jet lag, you have to play your gigs, you have to go to the next flight. You're not really chilling. You just go to the airport, you see these cities for a few hours, and then you leave again. So I would really like to see some crazy places. One of my biggest highlights recently was me and my wife. We went to Iceland. And it was really a trip of a lifetime. We had like a camper van and we were driving and seeing this crazy landscape. And it was really, 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 really cool. So yes, if I had 6 months to live, I would travel the world.
Go around. Yeah, very beautiful.
Yeah.
Sam, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure. Really enjoyed it. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.